you were so amazing. You were so great. You answered very, very powerful points for me, and I really appreciate all of those. Another thing, I want you to give advice to an 18 years old who is watching you and wants to set goal for themselves, and I want you to tell them how to draw a picture for their future. Like I want you to give a message to them, say like, this is what I did, this is how I felt, go this path, and like I want them to connect with you.
That's a really great question. You know, I would say, you know, think about what brings you joy today. What brought you joy when you were 5 or 6 or 7, and sit in that feeling. Because that's what's going to bring you joy when you're 25, 35, 45. Maybe not the exact thing, but like the feeling is what's going to make you feel fulfilled. And so at 18, I think we ask kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? We make them choose a major. You have to go to college. You have to do this. We're immediately teaching them that success is external. And so I would say, you know, to my 18-year-old self, like, remember that creativity brings you joy. That, you know, connecting with people and talking to people from all different backgrounds brings you joy. So then, no matter what job I'm in, if I'm connecting people with all different backgrounds, that's what's bringing me joy, not the day-to-day thing I'm doing. Or if creativity brings me joy, then being in a job where I can creative problem solve, or maybe I'm doing something with art. But understanding that, like, it's the function you want to live into. The form can evolve. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe you start here and you go, I really didn't like being this, so I'm going to try over here.
For sure.
That doesn't mean you're not successful.
For sure.
So find what brings you joy and hold on to that and make it daily practices, even if it's not your profession.
Okay.
Because knowing what brings you joy is going to sustain you so much longer than knowing what career you want to be in.
100%. Very beautiful. There's another question that I want to ask you, which is very, very important. Actually, 2 questions, and then after that, we go to our 5 questions.
Okay.
These 2 questions, one of them is about marriage and relationship, and the second one is, I want to know you as a woman working in a man world and in an industry that is basically man dominated. How do you handle that, and what kind of life experiences give you? So let's start with this second question first, and then I want to go about ask you about marriage.
Okay. So yes, the hazardous waste industry is there's not a lot of creativity or femininity in that space. So really what I have learned about being different or feeling othered is to not apologize for that and not pretend like I'm the same. So I show up dressed how, like, is an expression of myself. You know, in meetings, I raise my hands and ask questions. If I don't know what something means, if I have a different idea or opinion, if it's appropriate, I share it. But I also don't make other people wrong for being themselves. So I don't try to be in that space and just assume that everyone's like a misogynist and they're the worst just because it's all, you know, it goes back to kind of the idea around like the assumptions we make around people. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, in my industry that people know who I am because I'm curious, or I raise my hand, or I suggest to do it in a different way. Or, you know, maybe I challenge folks. Okay. You know, maybe I'm willing to say, you know, have you thought about it this way?
So as a woman, was it more difficult as a woman? Do you think you had to work harder?
Well, the thing that's interesting is I came into this industry because I took over my family's business, not because I was going to grow up in the waste industry. Yeah. So I don't I don't think I can speak to that directly.
Okay.
You know, I think in general we still live in a society where the expectations of women are higher, and then, you know, we're rewarded less for that. But in terms of, for me, if I hold the energy that I've got something to prove and I have to work harder, that I'm disconnected from like how I think I can be my fullest self and really impact, you know, where I am.
Okay.
You know, I have a lot of privilege because I run my family's business.
Okay.
You
But
know?
it's still maintaining in that business. You know, some people might say, oh, you were a girl, you're a pretty girl. Like, that was easy for you, like, to be in this field. Like,
Yeah, I mean...
will you think being a woman was in your benefit or it was not in your benefit?
I mean, I think that's such a hard question to answer because, you know, I look at most of stuff as things being to my benefit because I embrace that difference. You know, I'm not in a situation where someone was trying to hire me or I'm trying to move up a ladder.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like that would be that someone sitting in this seat in my industry, maybe that works for a larger company, would answer it totally differently.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I try to look at it as I am where I am for a reason. I've worked hard to get here. And instead of embodying the energy that I have to fight and struggle through everything, I really try to say, how can I impact this space around me? How can I recruit people to work with me for the common good?
Oh.
Instead of having the energy of, I'm against this person.
Okay.
And that's how I feel like I build alliances with people and we move forward and create change. Because I feel like I have things to learn from everyone.
Yeah.
Even people that are different than I am or who look at me a certain way.
And your point of view to the world and to your circumstances is everything. Because if you think I'm here to embrace everything, you will embrace everything. If you're here to struggle and fight and win, you will fight and then you will win. Or you might, you know, you're going to go through the struggles. But you looking at what I ask you with like, I'm going to embrace it with this love and energy and power and light. You didn't even realize that you were a man or a woman. It didn't even cross your mind.
And those things exist, right, in all industries, right? I can be mansplained at an advertising agency the same way that I can, right, in or at a beauty cosmetics company the same way that I can in the waste industry. So I think it's remembering that we still have a long way to go in these places, and we want to bring more diversity, more perspectives, more life experiences. And sometimes people have to fight through that. Okay. You know, I have a lot of privileges in some ways that other people wouldn't have, and I'm always mindful of that. So I try to use that to the benefit of creating greater change for everybody and not just like my own specific benefit.
Got it. The next question I want to ask you is about marriage. I want to know, we are in 21st century. Do we have to live with someone for the rest of our life? Is it okay to live with someone and whenever you're not aligned to move to your own direction? Like, I want you to elaborate on how do you look at marriage? What do you think about a lifetime partner? Is a lifetime partner really needs to be there for the whole life or as long as it's aligned with you? I want to elaborate on like marriage and relationship.
Well, I said earlier that I believe that relationships, all relationships, romantic or otherwise, right, are for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. In full disclosure, I am married. I've been married for 9.5 years. It's the only time I've ever been married. Got married when I was almost 35. I think that the foundation of a relationship has to be like two whole and complete humans. And two people who take responsibility for their own emotional, mental, spiritual, physical growth. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
And so sometimes I think that the concept of marriage, like you have to find one soul partner and that's your partner for the rest of time. I think that is an outdated an outdated kind of societal expectation that we have to live up to.
I agree.
What I can say about my personal marriage is that I married somebody who I knew shared the value of personal growth with me, that we both shared that. And so, there have been times in our marriage, even in recent times, where we really had to, struggle through some things and decide if we were growing together in the right direction and choose each other in that process.
Choose each other. That was beautiful.
The thing that I think was the biggest part of that is that each of us chose ourselves in that process also.
Very powerful.
So we each acknowledge, I have a therapist that would often say, what's my side of the street and what's your side of the street?
Yes.
Right? And so I'm a firm believer that we could be in love with a lot of different people if everything was always awesome.
Yeah.
The people that you can struggle through things with, I think, are your lifetime people. And I think that the second that you get cavalier or you're it has to be this certain way, life's going to throw you a curveball and challenge that.
Yeah.
And so, for me, I think we should always be in relationships that honor who we are. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes we have to remember that it's okay to not be okay for a period of time. Mm-hmm. And that maybe a decision doesn't have to be made in the immediate. Mm-hmm. Of course, I wouldn't say that if anyone was in any sort of physical or emotional danger. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a totally different thing.
Yeah, of course.
But if you're in a partnership with somebody where you're growing and evolving together, sometimes growing kind of over here and not like this is what needs to happen before you can come back together again.
Yeah.
And having that trust with your partner, that that's how that's going to work. Okay. But I think trying to conform to, I think back to 18-year-old advice, right? That being happy and in love with who you are and what you want to be in the world, and then being in relationships with people. And this, I think, is friendships and romantic relationships. Mm-hmm. Be in relationships with people that make your life better. Don't take away from it.
Yeah.
Because you don't need someone to be whole.
Yeah. So you were saying to the vocabulary of broken, how much that negative vocabulary will have an impact on a kid instead of spreading the word this is okay. Welcome to 21st century. If you need to grow, you're allowed as a human being to grow.
Of course. And I think that the thing that we really should think about too is how we talk about success in life, right? It's what do we ask kids? What do you want to be when you grow up? And we teach little girls that they should just want to be married and little boys to be providers, right? And what we've learned in this society that there's so much more than that, right?
Yes.
That it isn't just about, finding that thing and in certain gender norms, right?
Correct.
And so I would say that the goal to success is knowing your own self-worth, your own self-truth, the reason that you are good enough to be in the world. Then you don't partner with someone to fill a hole or to make you whole.
Wow.
You can partner with someone that enhances who you are and you enhance who they are, but that separately you're individual, whole, and complete humans.
Yeah.
So then if your time together is for a season, then that's great.
Yep.
Or if you keep evolving and growing together, then that's also great.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it's we're taught not to invest in our own wholeness.
Yep.
We're taught to seek validation.
We are never complete without the partner.
To seek externally.
Yeah.
Your success if you make this much money or have this title or do this job. You're self-fulfilled if you have a partner and if you have kids. You know, what about the people out there that don't want kids? What
Yeah.
about the people out there that want to have 15
Absolutely.
different partners?
So then
Amen.
what? They're not complete?
You do you, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's not hurting anybody or like pushing anyone else down.
Yeah.
But the other thing is there's a lot of freedom in that, right, for certain types of people.
Mm-hmm.
But then for other types of people, it's judgmental,
Correct.
right? And so we
Yeah.
have to really learn, how do you create a space where everybody is
Yeah.
allowed to have that same freedom to explore and to align with what it is that they want.
Yes. Beautiful. I love everything you said about this subject. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. Thanks for
Thank you so much for watching Femme Fatale by Helen. And with the pleasure of having my amazing friend and a role model, Jennifer Lahoda. I hope we had some positive life lessons that we could share. Thank you for being with us, and see you guys soon next time.